episode, I am joined by newspaper editor Blake Loria.
Howdy, glad to be back for a second time.
Yes, and today we're talking about the snowstorm from last week.
Yes, and how we had a surprising week off.
Yeah, so just first off, it was already weird to have a long weekend. I don't usually like long weekends. It throws off the week before and the week after because I like to have the full 5-day week. And so that was already strange for me to have it, thrown off like that. And then, Monday came around and I was like, man, let's go back to school. And then school was canceled, and I was like, okay, Wednesday, school was canceled. And then we were gone the entire week, and it was just...
Well, I think normally it would be shocking, to anyone kind of, having whatever your plans were, whether you were vacationing or just staying at home to get extra sleep, then getting an entire week. But on top of that, it's near spring break, and I think we can all remember that last spring break, we weren't expecting that to last how long it lasted. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there was a lot of almost tension, kind of, that same sort of feeling of, are we going back, and we don't want things to be canceled.
Yeah, I know it was different. I knew that the snow would melt eventually, but I was sitting at home and I was like, this feels too much like quarantine. It feels like I'm never going back.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely, I've heard a lot of people say that, and even Miss Hale, she sent out emails to every single student, and which I thought was so cool. I thought maybe it was, just me, I was just special. But then I saw people posting on their stories, or, Alyssa sent me one, and she was like, hey, look at this is so sweet. And it wasn't just, a generic email. She sent personalized emails to each of her students, kind of reaching out to them and telling them it's okay, I'm also struggling too, we're gonna get through this. And made personal connections and brought in personal information in each email for that student, which probably took her quite a while, and I think is so cool that she did that.
Yeah, I had a teacher who sent me an email and was giving their thanks for my hard work and that sort of thing. And I think most of all is teachers, they took one for the team. They still worked through that week, except for Friday, to make sure that we wouldn't have to make up all those days.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was also a lot of weird things going on, statewide, but even in our community, there were power outages, in different neighborhoods throughout different times, and so it was even hard, even if you were trying to do schoolwork, it was...
Yeah, and it's kind of weird, especially since clearly Texas was not prepped for the weather, and a lot of people don't know certain things, to run the tap if it's going to snow. Yeah,
or anything, we're just not used to cold weather. We are very much built for hot weather, so even just a cold day, it's it chills us to our bones, but then whenever it's something like a snowstorm with that much snow and ice, it's dangerous.
It was kind of funny because after it had finished snowing and the snow started actually melting, I went outside and it was maybe 45 degrees or something, and it felt like summer to me. It had been cold for a while, so it was outside, it was sunny, it was nice, there was a little bit of a breeze, so it was actually nice being outside.
And even yesterday and today was the 80s, and exactly a week ago there was still snow on the ground.
Yeah.
A lot of snow. Yeah, I was scared to leave my house just because of the weather and the road conditions, and especially after watching videos of the pileup that happened in Houston. I just took caution and stayed home. And plus, there wasn't really anything I could do when everything shut down. But you know who didn't stay home?
Who?
Ted Cruz.
Oh man.
Yeah,
the Zodiac Killer himself.
Yes, he was.
For those of you who do not know, Ted Cruz, one of Texas senators, caught some flack recently for whenever he was going on vacation to Cancun while Texas was dealing with the weather.
Yeah, there were people that were in their house literally freezing, and families that had no water or anything. And, he was just tanning in another country. Not much, obviously he couldn't have done a whole lot, but it still kind of looked bad.
Yeah, but even some people who aren't involved in government, like Beto O'Rourke or some others I've heard of, were donating or trying to actually find ways to help out Texans more so than someone who just fled the country.
Right.
But
yeah,
some people don't care at all. I definitely think it's bad optics, but I think the worst part overall was the terrible photo shoot he had after to try to make up for it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
with him like giving supplies to people, which is great, but it's just like it almost seemed forced. Like
Yeah,
they were
exactly.
they seemed staged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. But that definitely does not take away from the like effect that the snowstorm has had on people across in many states, but Texas especially. Like there are people in their house freezing to death, and there's stuff with the water. Like places in Texas even still have to boil their water to be able to drink it, and it just kind of makes me laugh because I'm like, man, remember when we made all those jokes in like May about 2020, like all of these things, and it's like here's a list of everything that's bad, and then here we are in like February of 2021, and it's like just in the past week we've had a crazy snowstorm, like statewide power outages. We can't drink our own water. We're freezing in our houses in Texas. That's so rare. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's so unique that even though we're dealing with something that we should all be super shocked by, that we're kind of just rolling with the punches at this point, getting used to dealing with a pandemic, you know? I mean, 2020 started with the wildfires in Australia, and then we had jokes about there being a pandemic since we're in the 20s, and then it just kind of got it just kind of developed from there to here we are a year later still dealing with the pandemic and also having just gotten out of an election and other political tensions.
Yeah, I feel like I'm almost desensitized to the world around us, especially like I'll watch the news or read an article, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that it's horrible, but I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really sad, but it's also a cool time to be a student journalist and to have a podcast where I can talk about these things, or we have a newspaper where we can write and document like what's happening right now, because we're going to be telling our kids about this, and I definitely am excited that we get to be the people that speak about it.
Yeah. Or even being able to cover it in the yearbook. And speaking of our publications, go check out Eagles Tell Eds on Instagram and the Eagles Tell on Facebook for updates on news stories as well as some other coverage.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. We're out of time for today, and we will see you in 2 weeks.